Welcome to the Software Lifecycle Stories podcast. We bring you stories of what worked and sometimes what did not in the course of discovering, designing, developing, delivering, and using software-based solutions, as shared by practitioners who went through these situations.
In this episode, our podcast guest, Roopa Dharmapuri, shares her perspectives on the interconnectedness of life and work, among other things, through her journey from being a developer to testing and a product manager, on how she anchors engagement at work and in life through curiosity and learning, what she experienced in many jobs by connecting the dots across changes in technology, market, large and small companies, and most important of all, people. She also talks about the importance of building relationships based on trust and credibility and stepping into customer shoes to establish trust and transparency while building and delivering products. Roopa also shares some advice for career women as well as those who are aspiring to come back to work after having taken a break. Roopa is a senior technology professional with 17 plus years of global experience delivering software products to market. Her domain expertise spans enterprise security, strong authentication, identity and access management, enterprise mobility management, application lifecycle management, and CRM solutions. Roopa has held various leadership roles in engineering and product management at various companies and is currently a senior member of technical staff at Acalvio Technologies. So good morning, Roopa. Great to have you on our show. Thank you so much for agreeing to be our podcast guest.
Thank you, Chitra. Good morning. It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and it's exciting.
How about starting off this conversation with telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Roopa Dharmapuri. I'm currently a member of technical staff at a startup called Acalvio Technologies. We're based out of the US, but all of the R&D happens out of Bangalore. It's a cybersecurity company providing deception solutions for large enterprises. So I have been in the tech industry for about 19 years now, coming up soon on my 20th year. And it has been a very interesting journey. By training, I'm an electrical engineer, but that was my undergraduate degree. And I got my graduate degree in an integrated course, which had both flavors of electrical engineering as well as computer science. From my early years on, I had great interest in, how technology can solve, some of the mundane problems, which was prevalent in those days. And so after my graduate studies, I went on to join Siebel Systems, which was a pretty hot company at that point for CRM technologies, right? Customer relationship management. This was Siebel System based out of the Bay Area. Being at Siebel Systems, it kind of propelled me into this entire, large complex systems, right? And being a design engineer, I started to see more and more of, the big picture perspective of, why we develop products a certain way, what is the exact problem we are trying to solve, and so on and so forth. And that theme has kind of stuck largely to my journey, right? So irrespective of which, domain or product or company that I have worked for, understanding the big picture has been, extremely beneficial and something that has been very rewarding as well. I continued my journey on, as a quality engineer. So just to put things in perspective, quality engineering, covers all of the aspects of, validation of systems that we are building. So it involves validating the functionality, validating the performance, scalability, reliability of systems, and things like that. So after Siebel, I moved on and I moved to Colorado, which is where, I was introduced to the very vibrant, startup community in Boulder. Right? I joined a company called Numerics. We were building application lifecycle management tools there. And my experience, working on CRM solutions came in very handy there. So, I was sort of got also involved in product definitions. So essentially a flavor of product management at that point. And I slowly got on to doing, project management for the internal engineering teams as well. Right. So this was in addition to what I was doing. So after numerics, we decided to move back to India, and I was very fortunate to join a company here called Arcot Systems. They were the pioneers in the authentication industry in two-factor authentication. And from that point onwards, I have been with the security industry. I was at Arcot for quite many years. I went on to become the director of quality engineering, and we were acquired by a company called CA Technologies. I stayed on and moved on to product management officially at CA. And after I left CA by the end of 2016, took a short sabbatical to reflect on a few things. And again, I was, very fortunate and very thankful for joining the founders in the early stage startup at Acalvio, which is where I'm currently at.
Wow, Roopa, looks like a phenomenal journey. There are so many questions coming to my mind. I'm sure we'll have further conversations on, how you have traversed all these things in your life, being a developer, being a quality engineer, working in large companies, in startups. You seem to have, a vast gamut of experience. What is it that has kept you engaged or, interested in such a lot of diversity in your work?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Chitra. As you said, that's true. I have gone from one domain to another domain to playing many different roles, being in, validation, then small foray into development and then product management, etc. And I think, the answer, that I have for your question is, probably as cliched as it sounds, it's the quest to learn. Right. And so I think as I have moved on from one role to the other, from, one product to another, to one company to another, I think what keeps me engaged and completely, into what I'm doing at that point is it's just very humbling to know how much learning we have to do at every stage. Right. Of course, as we move along, we do gather experiences and we learn to connect the dots, and we learn to apply learnings from one job to the other and from one product development experience to the next. But like I said, the anchor becomes how curious are you about the industry that you're trying to serve, the product that the product which is trying to solve a particular problem, right? And that kind of propels me forward, right? Because I have realized that no matter what level we get to, or how many years of work experience that we have had, and how many switches that we have made from one role to the other, the amount that we have to learn at any given point is still immensely large compared to what we have learned, right? And that's a very motivating, insight to have, and that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, I think that's something that keeps all of us going. The learning continuum. I don't think there'll ever be a stop to that or an end to it. So do you have any stories that you can share about, what it takes to settle down in a new place? You have switched so many jobs for various reasons. You may have a lot of interesting stories about each time you went to a new place, what happened and what you did. Anything that you can share?
Absolutely. So I think it is a very complex interplay, in our technology industry, right? So we have, various kinds of diverse people that we come across, and just the sheer number of industries and the domains, and the kind of products that we build, the different practices. So it can get very complex, yes, and it can get intimidating, definitely. But I think, in my experience, if I were to rank, four broad perspectives, in any company or any role, right? So we have obviously the technology, right? That's, the core of everything that we do. And we have the market that we are serving. And then there are all of the financial aspects about, what kind of a company are you at? Are you a startup? Are you a large company? And so on and so forth. And then the final, I'm saying that in the last because, I'm going to flip the order on its head here. It is the people, right? So just, reordering everything that I said, if I were to rank them in order, the most important thing, that ranks to the top is the people, the people that you work with, the relationships that you build, and, those are the very critical things that, make you either settled or unsettled at a place, right? And the second one, of course, it comes in the technology, right? How cool is the technology that you're working on? What kind of a problem is it trying to solve? And what kind of a market are you serving? Are you really solving a problem that needs a solution at this point in time, right? Case in point, the security solutions that we are building at the moment at Acalvio Technologies, right? It's extremely compelling. We are running against time, and there are problems that we need to solve, and solve them in a very creative and interesting ways. So that's the market aspect of it. And then last comes in the finance, right? Although by finance, I actually mean what kind of a company you're working at, whether established or startup. If you're in a startup world, how well funded are you, etc. Right? So these are the four factors that kind of go into defining what you kind of do on a day-to-day basis, right? And to answer your question, yes, I think if I were to rank it, it would be the interactions with people that comes in at the top.
Oh yeah, this is definitely something that all of us can take away, because and like you said, it's such a complex interplay at some point in time, and without us even realizing it, we are always balancing these things at any given point in time. And people interactions are always what I think also drives a lot of whether we stay in a place, how engaged we are, and how we sort of embed ourselves in a particular place.
Absolutely. And if I may add a couple of more things, and I think building relationships anywhere is extremely critical, because given the number of hours that we actually spend at work, it is an extended family, right? That's kind of what it lands up being, right, with the close people that you work with. So the onus is on us every time to actually build strong relationships, right? So that's one aspect of it. And the second thing I think, that I have realized, and it has helped me tremendously, is, at a workplace, it is extremely important to be passionate about what you're doing, and, the kind of work that you're doing day to day, and how much gratification is coming out of that, everything. But at the same time, it is also very important to draw a line in terms of keeping your emotions out of anything that you're doing, right? As human beings, our tendencies to get emotionally involved, attached to everything that we do, right? And to ensure that we have the optimum balance and we are getting the most out of what we are doing at work, it is important to actually have a little bit of control on that emotional aspect of it, right? And the other thing also is, very often in some of the other speaking engagements I've had, etc., I've heard a lot of people come up to me and ask me things like, how do you actually deal with situations where, people are trying to bring you down, right? And they're not letting you move forward and things like that. So, one thing that I've always thought of, and, I freely tell people also, is I believe the power lies within you, right? The remote control to how you control all of these situations and manage them is in your hands, right? And one thing that actually works against people, when they're, at a certain company feeling like they're victimized, is the fact that they feel helpless, right? So we all hesitate actually to take the first step in trying to solve a problem, bringing a human aspect to everything that we're doing, right? So those are some of the key things. And I think, it is definitely a balance between, the technical skills that we have and bring to the table versus the soft skills and people management, right? So these are the three things that, we need to have a good balance on.
Wonderful points, Roopa. Something that, all of us, I'm sure, have learned through our experiences at work, and definitely something, to constantly reflect on, to see what is it that I as a person can do to improve my relationships and help build stronger bridges with people. So with that, it brings to mind another question. So far, whatever you've shared is sort of internal within an organization. What have been some of your experiences in developing relationship with customers who are actually using your product? And are there any stories that you could share from those experiences?
Sure. Again, great question. Thank you. So, my interactions with customers actually started when I was at CA, and I made the transition over from engineering to full-time product management. So, again, just to share a tidbit from from the journey perspective itself, it was a complete shift in mindset. Going from an engineering mindset to a customer service mindset, right? Very typically the way we think like engineers when we're talking to customers are the ones that I had to actually do a hard reset on, right? Because when we're talking to customers, I think, it's absolutely necessary to step into their shoes and look at it from their point of view, because, the products that, that we are, helping them use is actually solving a very critical business problem for them, right? And that has many different constraints given, where they come from and how their company operates, etc. Right. So the ability to see their perspective was the first thing that I learned, as a product manager. Right. And so that actually meant setting aside, all the internal, chaos and dilemma that I had to deal with to get a product release done, working with our engineering folks, and just very simply, listening to the customer. Right. And just being a great listener, I realized actually helped me build a very strong relationship with the customer and, the representatives from our customer companies, right? And so that once that credibility was established, I was able to, give them the value of, what they were asking, whether it was really necessary, if there was another way to solve that. And also build a pipeline for them, but be very upfront and honest about when we can deliver something and when we cannot, right? So transparency over a very strong, credible relationship. I think those were the key things that I took away.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of product managers also listening on our podcast, and that's a fantastic takeaway for them too. And a segue into a question which I have heard from a lot of product managers. When you are listening to the customer and you're developing empathy for the customer, you sort of tend to want to do the right thing for them all the time. But very often how that translates back into the organization actually building the product is product managers are always telling me on an ad hoc basis, what is it that customers want? And for product managers, it is the balance between short-term demands and long-term needs of a customer. Can you share something in terms of what, if you face the situation, what you've done, and what is it that you learned from such an experience?
So that is always a tussle, Chitra. So, what a customer is asking for versus what, we can deliver and what we think we should deliver that a customer should use, there is always a tug of war, right? So we all know that, as tech companies, we build our, feature pipeline and product pipeline and roadmap and things like that based on a certain vision, that we have. Right. So we think, there are many factors that go into deciding the roadmap, etc., which is, what are the competitors doing? What does the marketplace need? And, what comes off as, great innovation that, our engineering team has come up with, etc. But all at the same time, right, our roadmap and our vision might not exactly translate to what a customer wants, right? And this is true for, products that have been, in the market for a while. And, it's kind of mature enough, if I may say that, which means, it's been in production and, on customer infrastructure and their applications, etc., for a while. Right. So that's especially when we always have a tussle between, staying in a little bit of a sustenance mode versus, propelling ahead with more innovations that we can give to the customer, right? So what I have taken away is, in my experience, it has largely mattered, what kind of an organization I am at that point, and where is the maturity of the product, right? So just to drop the contrast, when I was a product manager for, a little bit of what had come to be known as a legacy system at CA Technologies. So that was everything to do with, card authentication, card payment solutions, right? And we had been doing that for 10 plus years. So the product was that many years old versus what I'm doing today, right? Today, in Acalvio at the startup, we are still at a stage where, we are telling customers, how they should be looking at deception solutions, right? So, in my experience, it largely depends on where exactly in the life cycle the product is, and how do you actually prioritize this? Because for more mature products, it's absolutely required to ensure that the customer and the product keeps going, right? So we cannot prioritize, just upgrading them to a brand new version of the product at the risk of destabilizing their systems, right? So it always comes down to a question of priority, and unfortunately, there is no one recipe for all, right? So it has to be dealt with on a customer to customer basis. And yes, it is a lot of work, but that's how product management can move forward, right? By ruthlessly prioritizing things for the customer.
Thanks, Roopa. Very, very interesting insights. So in your experience, have you had a situation where you encountered a silly bug, or is there a lesson from debugging a complex bug, something that you'd like to share?
Sure. So yes, there have been times when silly bugs have brought systems down, right? And a lot of learning has been taken away from that. So I think coming from a validation / quality engineer perspective, right? So one of the things that I have learned and also propagated onto my teams is the fact that we should definitely not save the quality of a product till the end of the life cycle, where we have a bunch of validation tests that are going on, and the QA engineers report a lot of bugs, and we fix the bugs, and that's how we ensure quality, right? That's just the absolute wrong way to look at it. So silly bugs, complex bugs, all of these things can be solved way upstream, right? This is in our design stage, design validation stage, and coding stage, and of course, our unit test and integration tests, right? Am I shifting the problem just over to another stream? Absolutely not. So I think the quality of any product gets defined by how well we know the requirements, right? And how well are we actually trying to solve a problem for which we are building a certain feature. And these, of course, as we know, they get broken up into different modules, different services, different parts of the code that all come together at a certain point. And it becomes important to do the integration testing, right, to ensure that it is indeed doing what we intended it to do. And so that's actually been one of my primary focus when I was leading pretty large team of test engineers, was to actually ensure that the testing actually happens not from a development mindset, but with a customer mindset, right? So we always have to don the hat of the customer and see and replicate their environments, and do upgrade on customer-like environments, and use the feature as they would, write stubs to do the integration that a typical customer implementation would have, etc. Right. So this approach kind of significantly, landed up increasing the quality. Right. So one of the things that, we did do was work with development teams to actually, script out and automate most of the unit testing activities. Right. So so we took the initial, initiative to spawn that off. And in the long run, it actually pays off, because, the build quality that the team lands up getting for validation is much higher if, the build has been, sanity tested with exhaustive set of, unit test suites, right? So, but yes, I have built a life and a career on bugs, and there have been a lot of takeaways from that.
Oh yes, this is something that we've heard a lot of our podcast guests talk about, and I also personally believe that any bug, whether it's so-called silly or complex can teach you something that no book or a training course can teach you. And I
Absolutely.
always recall telling engineers who used to join my team, whether they were development engineers, integration engineers, test engineers, it's like, start looking at the top 5 bugs in the system. And I think that'll be your ramp up program for understanding the technology and understanding the system. So,
right.
yeah.
And, just drawing an analogy to, real life, every incident or every encounter of a situation that we have in real life, we take away learning, right? And that's exactly how our brain works. It stores the learning and uses that for the future decision making or reflex or whatever it may be. And bugs, I believe, give us the same perspective, right? Each bug is a learning. And if we just fix the bug and don't take away a learning, it's as good as not doing anything at all. And it is very important to keep the feedback loop alive and kicking, right? So, and that's kind of how software and systems can actually mature, right, and get to a level of quality that's acceptable, that's reliable, and scalable.
Definitely agree with you on all the points that you've said. It sort of reinforces, I think, what to many people, and especially youngsters who are coming into the workforce, because I'm sure several of them will be dealing with legacy systems or systems that are already in place. So with unless you're working on a radically new idea, you're going to be dealing with an existing system. And one of the best places to start is, hey, figure out what are the bugs in the system, and what is it that we can do to build a more reliable and predictable system out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My next question to you is about cultures. You having worked in so many places and looked at or experienced so many different cultures, how has that influenced you or helped you develop as a person?
Great question, Chitra. So again, I'll come back to the point and just put it out there that I have been extremely fortunate and thankful that I've worked across different geographical cultures. It has definitely helped shape my perspective, and also different cultures that pertain to in the industry what we call as management styles, right? And I think that's kind of what defines our culture at any given place. And I have had a fair share of, being exposed to great cultures and not so great ones, just to be honest. And I think, what has worked the best and that I have tried to emulate and pass on to my teams is a culture of, nurturing collaboration, right? And a participative culture where everybody from whether you have an intern to no matter what levels of engineers that there are, and mid-level managers, high-level managers. So I think the culture that works best is the culture where everybody feels that they are participating and they're collaborating with a larger team, right? And that in the backdrop of transparency is the one that is the most effective, as I have seen, right? And on the contrary, I have been in cultures where, where people have felt, where I have felt that, there's a certain level of opaqueness in management, where there is not a free-flowing dialogue in terms of what decisions have to be made, what were the some of the thought processes behind why a certain decision was made. If they're not well communicated to the teams and the information doesn't trickle down correctly, it just gives rise to the whole great point talk, right? And that fosters a culture of gossip and being secretive and generally people turning negative, right? And that cannot be good for any company, irrespective of what size the company is, where the product is in its maturity life cycle, etc. So which is why I think having open, honest conversations really helps. And it takes me back to the point I made earlier about building relationships, right? So for everyone, it is all about managing down, managing up, and managing laterally, right? So good relationship with your managers, good relationship with people that report to you if you're in that position, and managing peers, right? And all that can happen by building relationships that are based on trust and credibility. right? And that to me defines culture and, some insights into what can be effective and what can be better.
I think very wonderfully tied into the earlier conversations, Roopa. Thank you so much. I mean, culture of an organization is something that intrigues me, fascinates me, and these are really some wonderful insights. Thank you. So I know you've been one person who's very interested in what's happening in the space of artificial intelligence. So what is happening out there, Roopa?
That's a very loaded question, Chitra, and there can be an answer that lasts a very long time. So that I will, just for disclaimers, I will put it out there that my background has not been in AI. It is more of an intellectual quest that I have to, just explore on my own what AI can bring to the table and whether it is, as beneficial as the industry is claiming it to be, and what are some of the consequences. Right. And so artificial system is one, it's a center point of the product that we are building in the current company that I am at. So AI is used to learn about systems, that can be under threat from cyber attacks, and how we can, prevent that and, sort of build defenses in place already before an event happens. Right. So these are all areas where AI, I believe, adds tremendous value, right? So just the ability to for systems to learn and autonomously make decisions on, what a deployed solution can do to protect enterprises, right? So these are all areas in the area of security that I think is making great impact and will continue to do so. And there are other aspects of AI that touches human lives, right? So there was a quote that I read somewhere which said, technology is an excellent slave, but it's a lousy master. Right? And so I think where AI is headed, I think in automating mundane things and to make sure that people are freed up to do more creative things in the tech industry, I think that's a good aspect of it. But at the same time, I don't think the systems are well understood yet in terms of how it can actually have detrimental impact on humanity, right? And so that is something that I'm trying to read more on, and all my interest in reading outside of what I'm currently doing, that really helps, right? And that's currently where it is at.
Thanks, Roopa. This is then, whenever things are happening in that space, this is material for further conversation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. So one question which a lot of us have interests outside of work, and I feel it essentially defines all of our lives, whether it be music, whether it be just curiosity about things, and there are so many dimensions to all of us. How is it that you find time to do those things, and why is it important to have and look forward to things outside of work?
That actually is what defines people's personalities, right? So we have a lot of learning, and we invest a large part of our lives at work doing what we do. But also, there have to be interests that kind of helps you shape your personality in terms of, what your natural interests are, right? So I always joke with my parents that they should have let me become a journalist, right? It's not that they actually stopped me, but, in my confusion, I didn't think it was an option that I could pursue. So one thing that, has really interested me is, the whole aspect of learning about things that are happening in the world around us, especially at a time like this when information is just so readily available. There is no excuse to be unaware. It is everything to do with world news to, what is down to what is exactly happening in the industry that I currently am in. I have a habit of reading quite a lot that ranges from technology reviews to world news to opinions that actually matter. So one thing that I have realized is how much information to filter out, because we are in an age where there is an overload of information, and following the people that have genuine voices saying what they have to say. I think I have benefited a lot from that. That's one aspect. And I do have a great love for reading, and not just technology topics, but very diverse set of topics ranging from life in Central America to Africa to other aspects of developmental stories that's happening in India itself. Right. So all of these things, one is love for the reading, and that helps me get intellectually engaged, and just the amount of broadening of perspective that provides, and elements of that which I can bring back to my everyday work. Right. So those are the top things that I actually love to do.
Rupa, this is one question that I've been wanting to ask you, and I feel it's a nice way to sort of round off our podcast. You've been actively involved with women in technology groups, and you've been mentoring several women. There are so many of them in the industry today. What would be some advice or some insights that you could share with them?
I have, in the last several years, worked with women in technology groups, and making women in technology not a diminishing population as we have seen in the last few years. And as part of some of the work that I've done in those groups, one thing is, I have done career mentoring and talking to girls, women, young girls that are in engineering at the moment, and they want to foray into the tech industry, right? And as part of, some of the things that I've said to them is, keep their interest level up, right? And they should come in with a level of engagement that actually hooks them onto what they're doing, right? And that is all about being curious, stepping up their wanting to learn, and keeping on top of what is happening in the industry. Not so many in great detail, but the general direction that the tech industry is taking it, right? And so those are the three primary things to keep them completely engaged in the industry. And the other aspects are what we've typically seen, which is the number of women employees just casually, just dropping as the levels go up, right? So we do start out being 40 or so percentage of, the workforce, and then it slowly drops all the way. And when it reaches the top level CEO, I believe, it was at about 12 or 13%, if I'm not mistaken. And that's a very large loss that we have, which is called, in the industry, we call it as the leaking pipeline. And, one of the things that I always tell, women is, depending on, where we are in life, it may become inevitable to take breaks, but always do have an aspiration to come back into the workforce, come back into the industry. There are several companies that are making, an invested effort in, getting women back into the workforce after they've taken a break, whether it be for, relocating, or whether they've taken a break for maternity or childcare, early childcare. Just explore those options and make it an aspiration to come back into the workforce, right? And stay on and be engaged. So those are some of the things that I think I normally advise women to do.
Thanks, Rupa. In fact, on the topic of trying to figure out how we could get women to get back as well as stay on there, and I hope there is something that we could do to improve those percentages, especially at the higher levels at some point in time. Thanks, Rupa. This is a good insight into some of your interests. And what I really love is the fact that you in some ways represented the interconnectedness of so many things, of work, of life, of experiences at work. So thank you very much, Rupa. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been lovely talking to you.
If you like the show and would like to share your experiences with the community, or know someone else who might want to do that, please get in touch with us at podcast@pm-powerconsulting.com. That is podcast@pm-powerconsulting.com. Please rate our show on Podchaser, iTunes, Stitcher, or any other podcast client that you find us on.